There's such a heavy load of distraction in the world right now.
What I see is just fragmentation.
And they're not having a real conversation. So whose responsibility is this to fix the problem of distraction?
Hey team, welcome back to another great episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader podcast. This is your host, Martin Jewell, and I'm joined again with my people. Queen Christine is in here.
This is officially my title now. Queen Christine, Warrior Queen Christine.
That's right. That's right. She's the host of the
Cowboy Coach.
She's the host of the Breaking Chains podcast, the author of Drop the Armor.
Yeah.
Get that in all the bookstores where you can buy books, download on Audible, get it in there right now. And she heads up all of our executive coaching here at the Momentum Company. We got John Cowboy Coach Anderson.
Woohoo!
John is our director of client services and our head coach, and heads up all of our coaching, client delivery, all of the good stuff. He is a real cattle rancher. He's got his own little cow-calf herd down there in Southwest Minnesota. And so we're into this next episode. Today we're going to be diving into distraction. Here's the inspiration for this episode. Came in a conversation we were having recently with one of our clients who was running a Zoom call for some of her clients. And while she was on the Zoom call, somebody else who was also on the Zoom call called her to talk. Like, apparently completely forgetting that they were already on a call together, and then he needed something, and so he calls to have a conversation. And it's like, wow.
Did she answer?
No, but it's like, how distracted do you have to be, right? How distracted are we that we're literally in a meeting with somebody and we're just not paying attention, and we're actually calling the person who's running the meeting that I'm sitting on supposed to be paying attention, which would insinuate to me, which would communicate to me that people are showing up to meetings because it's on the calendar, out of pleasantries, out of pressure to perform. I don't know, but people are showing to these meetings. They're not really there. There's such a heavy load of distraction in the world right now, from the dings on our phones, the notifications, the text messages, the emails, the go, the do. There's just so much on our plates. We hear this all the time from our clients. They want more time management, better work-life balance. They want less stress, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what we're hearing. This is what we're diving into. People are distracted. They're distressed. How do we bring presence back into the intentional leadership conversation? How do we get presence from people? Because this has got to stop. That's what I want to dive into today. What do we do?
Let's go. I'm just going to start out the gate. We make presence the priority. We have to make presence the priority above every other discussion. Because the reality is, if we're part of the way there, we're going to capture part of the information. We're going to catalog. We're going to process part of the conversation. We're going to respond halfway because we're divided in our attention. So it's like when you were talking, we're distracted. We're all of these things. What I see is just fragmentation, like scatteredness, right? Yeah. Scattered presence. Part of me's in the future. Part of me's in the past. Part of me's at home. Part of me with the kids. What are they doing? And it is impossible. This is neuroscience has shown this over and over again, to actually retain the information, to retain the experience, right? So it's like, this is why when we go, we go on vacation, we go do something as a team, but then we have our laptops open, but then we're checking our phone all the time. We have our phone pinging and dinging. And then we go, wait a second, what did we talk about? What do we do? Pull up the camera so we can see pictures of what we actually did, because we literally forget. We forget because we weren't there. We were not there. And we know this, that where we are in our head is what we experience in our body. So if I could be physically in the room, but if my head's not here, my heart's not here, I am not experiencing what's happening in this room.
Absolutely.
So I think, and I'm just going to share that right out the gate. I think it's time to normalize making presence priority. At work, at home, at the dinner table, in the bedroom, the boardroom, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you're not here, we ain't talking. Okay, how many times have we been on a date and I've said that? I'm like, if you're on that phone,
Right.
then I'm not here for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll just, and I'm not saying that you do it a lot ever, you know, but we've had that a few times where it's like, but we don't have these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I think we both commonly do. Like when one person gets distracted, then like we just train ourselves to like stop, wait for the person to finish what was obviously more important than being in the conversation right now. And then we pick up and continue.
Yeah. But if we make presence the priority, then that means something else gets to take second place.
Mm.
But it's actually like, it's dumb to think that if we're actually showing up and not present, we're actually getting anything accomplished.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it's dumb because it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using high and mighty language. It's just like, it's like kindergarten. We're showing up to calculus with a kindergartner's mind.
Well, and the research actually shows that we cannot multitask. It's literally impossible to multitask, right? And we have folks that are out there saying, "Well, I could be on the Zoom call, right? And plus, I can work on this other stuff because I'm good at multitasking." Well, it's literally impossible to do it, right? And so, actually, I love how you started off as presence. Make presence the priority.
Because priority.
Right, and I want to tie this into another challenge that we face a lot too is work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because if we can't be present for a Zoom call that's literally being probably recorded, we're showing up, you know, like people can see us not paying attention. Then, like to your point, are we being present for our marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Are we being present, you know, at date night? You know, and I'm sure you guys see it all the time when you guys are going on date nights. I know Kaylee and I see it too, and we kind of laugh, you know, but it's reality. You look around, and every other couple is on their phone,
Yeah,
and they're not having a real conversation.
Tell me, John, man.
You know, and yeah, you're guilty too, right? But not correct. You know, you gotta, you know,
right.
It's definitely a retraining. I will say that we have been working at this for a long time, and we still don't nail it every time for sure. I mean, the phones are designed to create addiction. The tabs on our computer now, it's like you need to run to the screen for everything. It seems like, right? You need to. I said that the other day. I was like I was thinking about a recipe. Oh, bing, I got to look that up. I was thinking about a new podcast episode to create. I got to look that up. I was thinking about a client conversation. Oh, I got to go pull that transcript. Everything seems to be online or on a phone or digital, or you got to plug into something, you know? And so, yeah, I love just starting the conversations.
So my question about all this, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with us when we would say, hey, we need to make presence the priority again. You know, like hashtag presence is priority. It's like, let's start a movement, start the presence movement, you know, and we can do all that, right? My question though is like, whose responsibility is it? Right? So this is a leadership podcast. We're talking to leaders in general, but I know of leaders who we work with that are just as distracted as the people that they're leading. And maybe that's why, I don't know. Right. But we live in this reactive world. People are we're all using our phones these days as the alarm clock. If you use an alarm clock and then the alarm goes off and you get up and maybe you hit snooze once or twice, then you're up and then you're rolling. Most people are rolling into their email. They're rolling into Twitter. They're rolling into text messages. They're reactive from the get-go. And that theme just carries on throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now on a personal level, yes, it's your personal responsibility, right? And then like within the team context, like I guess it's the responsibility of the person running the Zoom call. But then like, I mean, at some point, can we just not, like, I'll be honest, it pisses me off on coaching calls when people just don't have, like, they show up for an hour that their company is paying for and they don't have the respect of that time to just show up and be present and be on the call, right? Like they couldn't make that a priority. So it means that they didn't think ahead to where they were going to be at that time of day ever in many cases. And they're dialing in, they're calling in, they're jumping on so that they get marked present, right? Yeah. But the connection is so poor, they're not getting anything out of it. And then I've had guys jump onto coaching calls from the applicator.
Yeah.
driving through the field. And I'm like, shut it off. Like, go call in, like, listen to the recording. Don't be a distraction. Anyway, else. I'm getting a little bit too far down, but who's like, at some point, is it not just people's own responsibility to have some damn respect? That's my question to you guys. Like, what is so whose responsibility is this to fix the problem of distraction?
I mean, I think it's a two-way street, right? As a leader or even as a coach, I do feel like it is partly my responsibility to keep my my team or my clients, the participants on the call engaged. Yeah. Right. So am I engaging enough, or am I just being monotone talking? Where it's really hard for folks to be present because they're like, "Oh, this is monotone. It's hard. This is not valuable. It's not relevant. So part of, I think, the ownership is on the leader to make sure that like we are having meetings that are valuable and a worthy investment of our time.
Yeah.
Right. We talk about this at the line events. Yeah. That's the first thing we start out with is or one of the first things that we start out with. We ask them a question like, what is this training? Like, how does this, why is this a valuable use of our time? Or what makes this a valuable use of our time? Right. And I think by asking that question, it makes us relevant. Right. And it also gets us focused. But I do think, on the other hand, it is other folks' responsibility to eliminate the distractions. Right. Close, like if you're on Zoom, close all the other tabs that we can see you working on, right? Like I can see you typing, I can see your eyes going back and forth, or I can see you texting. Like put that stuff aside.
Yeah. It sounds so good when we say it though.
Oh,
well, the reality is, yes, I agree. Whose responsibility is it? Is the person that's showing up. I mean, I would say leaders go first. So, and yeah, here's two things though I think we should talk about: discipline and addiction. Discipline is trained. Discipline is trained, and discipline creates freedom. But who taught you discipline? Like somebody had to either teach you discipline, or something happened in your life that taught you, boy, it's time for some discipline. I need to put some protocols in place. I need to start working out. I need to start eating clean. I need to stop scrolling, getting into these rooms that I shouldn't be in. Something happened to us that made us go, oh crap, I need to pull out. I have gotten way too lax, loose, whatever. And so the reality is most people lack self-discipline. Self-discipline is a fruit of the Spirit, by the way. That's how you know you are, dialed in spiritually too, is that you have the ability to self-regulate, self-discipline. And I think because of the world that we live in, because everything is available now, I have it now, I want it now, I get it now, there is no training anymore. There's very little training on delayed gratification, on saying no, on creating boundaries and structure, because it feels like, oh, I'm missing out, or I'm being mean, or right, I want it all. And so we have to get rid of this consumption-based mentality that's like, I want it all now, I have to do it all now. And we get back to like, wait a second, if I really show up and go all in on this one thing, what result am I going to get? And can I be disciplined enough to show up for this thing? Well, like the training is actually in discipline. Right? To be able to say no to things and yes to things and make the decision to be all in. So the first thing is like, whose responsibility is it to create the discipline? Well, yes, leaders, do we have the discipline to be present? Do we have the discipline to have focus on one thing at one time? If we don't, then I would suggest let's start to build that. The second component of that, though, that's tied, as we're talking about neuroscience and human behavior, is the dopamine addiction, which gets talked about a lot. But when we're talking about I need to multitask, which, by the way, was a total wonk of an agenda that got pushed onto us in the 80s and 90s, Anyways, we'll put that aside. But as we look at the way everything is designed, from our food, the taste of our food, the texture of our food, the way social media is structured, the way workflows are structured, everything is designed to get us addicted. Everything is designed to get us addicted. Substances, people, online stuff. And so we are addicted as a society to always having to be plugged in, not just to one thing, but to a lot of things. We're addicted to noise. We're addicted to chaos. We're addicted. And so every time we do this, it's like bing, bing, we're getting these little dopamine hits, right? And so I know I'm going into a little bit of the teaching behind it, but I think some of our frustration is when we start having conversations around like, how do I be more present? To me, the real conversations is, okay, I want to prioritize presence. Great. How do we do that? We create discipline. We break addictions. We have to break the addiction to always being plugged into something and recognize like, wow, what does it feel like when I just be quiet for 5 minutes and actually try to focus on one thing?
Yeah.
And, or half an hour, 1 hour, whoa, 1 hour of uninterrupted deep work. And look at how uncomfortable you get. I remember doing this, okay? Like when I decided I'm breaking my addiction to chaos because I always believed I love organized chaos. I thrive in pressure. That was like my MO because that's what I had bought as my story.
Mm-hmm.
But when I said, no, I'm going to be ruthless about really deep focus, deep work, I had to break my addiction to chaos. And so I just want to say that when people say, well, how? Do something uninterrupted, like just one thing, be there. Try for 20 minutes and just notice all the discomfort you feel, all the things that start coming to your head, like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. What about this project? Just notice how much is coming at you all the time that you unconsciously say yes to.
That you now notice because it's
Yeah, you now noticed all of the things that are coming and all the discomfort. What you do when you're not aware of it is you're just saying yes, 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 yes. You're just like saying yes to everything. And you're just in this cocktail of a chemical dump of hit. And so really, as we're talking about this, because people want more hacks.
Yeah.
But the real work is getting unplugged.
Quick interruption to the podcast here. Listen, at the end of the day, most of you have been through some sort of training and development. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably interested in personal and or professional development. And here's the reality. In the corporate space, most of it's bad. Let's be honest. Most of it has been a death by PowerPoint situation that really doesn't progress you, your team. It doesn't move the needle. It's not aligned to business priorities. That is why I really am asking you to take a look at the Thriving Leader program. In the show notes below, go to the link and click through to our Thriving Leader website. The Thriving Leader was designed with the learner in mind. Adult learners today don't need another death by PowerPoint situation. They don't want to waste their time going to a training, being at an event that doesn't actually get them the results and that isn't actually relevant to where they are in life. The three biggest challenges that leaders have today are time management, stress, and work-life balance. The Thriving Leader works to solve those and so many more things. Click on in the link in the show notes, learn about the Thriving Leader, and join us at an upcoming public event and see what it's all about. We believe that today's leaders hold a moral obligation to create environments within which their people can thrive. Whether you're the one leader on your team or whether you're the leader of 10, 20, or more, it's time to see what you can do to create an environment within which you and others can truly, truly thrive. 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now, the time will have gone by. The question I have for you is, during that time frame, are you surviving or are you thriving? Click the link today. Okay, I want to clarify something in case there's people listening who aren't in our world all the time where we're talking about dopamine, we're talking about incentive, reward, right?
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So what is dopamine?
It's a chemical that the body releases.
Yeah, it's a chemical that your brain releases, right? And so anytime it's a reward mechanism that our brain has, which is great. It's like I do something and it feels good, right? I get a hug from my husband. Oh, I get a dopamine receptor. I get a dopamine dump. It's a little release. And it's like, oh, that felt amazing. That was good. It feels good. We need dopamine, right? It's a signal to us that we're moving in the right direction and we're doing things right.
Almost like it's the neurochemical that gets released into the body when...
It's a pleasure hormone.
Yeah. So like when something happens or I get something checked off my list or I get noticed or...
Anything that makes you feel good. So I get a Facebook like, I get a pat on the back, I get a picture that looks interesting. Anything that lights you up and makes you feel good. And I just want to say this too, that at the end of the day, most human behavior, most reasons why people do anything is just so that they can feel better.
True.
Dopamine drives human behavior.
True.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I wanted to clarify that because, there, by the way, there's a whole, as Christine put it, chemical cocktail of different things that the body produces. But we do know that dopamine is the most powerful thing that's driving a lot of what, if you'd say somebody who's very driven, right, they probably have a very high need for dopamine.
It's very addicting because it is. It's like you get addicted to it, and the more you get, the more you need. And that's why we have these dopamine addictions, because it's like, ooh, the more hits I get, it's like cocaine. And they've actually, you could see a brain scan of your brain on cocaine and your brain on sugar or social media or distractions. And it's almost the same, like parts of your brain that are lit up. So like the more I get, the more I want. It's never enough. I'm never enough. There's never enough. And it's like, so we're in this hamster wheel of chasing the carrot that we kind of get, like we get a little lick, but we got to keep running. And so this is why it's so important to understand the importance of doing dopamine detoxes or regulating our dopamine.
Right. All right. So now before you send me to rehab for my detox and all that.
It's all about it. It's cleaning it up. It's our cleaning up.
Before we go down to the Iota, so now I got to understand the next piece, which is that so when we understand like that's something that drives us, but it's like there's never enough. Like, so if there were 10 things on my list today and getting all 10 done made me feel like that was amazing, right? That, well, eventually what happens is 10 will be enough. You'll need 11.
Correct.
And then you need 12. And this is why you have people, we're stacking more and more into our list. Not because the story would be like, well, there's just a lot to do and somebody's got to do it. But if you really look at the why, like you start to peel back the layers, like how did that happen to begin with? Like a lot of people put themselves into positions to have lots to do because of the importance that they derive, the feeling of importance that they derive.
Yeah, it's like a high that you get, but the reality is for those high, there's a crash on the other side. So, and I honestly did not think this conversation was going to go this way, but it's really important because I think sometimes we're beating ourselves up like, oh, why can't I be more present? Why can't I just show up? And if we understand what is happening biologically, we have the right conversation.
Yeah.
Instead of the wrong one. So, when we're stacking, like you said, now we have this nervous system, this familiar place that our nervous system starts to operate in, which is we experience what's called anxiety, right? It's like the buzz is always going on. And if something's not going on, then we feel uncomfortable. It's like we have this conversation about our kids, right? If they're bored, you're not entertaining me. I'm bored. It's like they need another thing all the time entertaining them. Or do they know how to just like, it's okay to be bored. Like it's okay to sit and just sit on the patio for a minute or sit in the backyard. And you know what? That's when you get creative. That's when you start innovating again. That's when you get an idea to build something. We've had this conversation with our kids. I'm sure you've had it with yours. But if they're always being plugged in and fed and entertained, they need, and then they don't have access to the place that actually allows their creativity to and problem solving and everything to come through it.
So now we can actually, like, if we understand that a lot of this distraction is coming from our sort of like innate need to feel something, right? To feel better. And so we're adding, and now we just have so many things going on that we can't, and so many things going on and so many people that we feel like we need to please. And so many people to take care of, that while we're in one meeting, I should be paying attention to what's going on here. But I'm like, well, I just have all these other people to make happy too, right? And all these other things to do too. And so I'm gonna like, wow, it's like nobody's really gonna notice. Like the consequence for being distracted on this meeting is not going to derail my next dopamine hit. So I'm gonna go right. I'm gonna be checking other things off my list while I'm sort of half-assed paying attention over here, right? And I can do that. Maybe I'm on camera, maybe I'm not on camera. I mean, these days, like, here's what's interesting. Participants, no problem. Leaders, managers, executives, to get them to show up, be present, and be on camera, real pain in the rear. So those of you who are in the seats with the C's in the front of on the front end of your title, or the V's on the front end of your title, you guys are the problem. I'm going to just lay that out there and let you know I'm watching you. I'm watching you. But now let's talk about dopamine regulation, because you can actually do something about this. And I'll just throw like one of the what's out there right away. I've gotten poor at this lately, and in the past I've gotten really good at it. Like, and Christine, you do a great job of this. And John, I'm not there when you wake up in the morning, so I don't know. But just even if you're using your phone for the alarm, like, shut it off, leave it plugged in your room, or leave it where it is, and then walk away. And can you give yourself 30 minutes before you check? Can you give yourself an hour of without any technology, and go have a drink of water, get up, go to the bathroom, have your water, go have some coffee, go read your Bible, right? Go read a book, go for a walk, go work out. Can you go do something else before getting into your technology? That seems to help regulate the dopamine response throughout the rest of the day. Does that work for you guys? I mean, having some other...
Yeah, of course. So I have a morning routine that I do not go into my phone for at least the first half hour, right? I mean, I do use the phone to get me up, because it's a lot quieter than the alarm. That's going to air. Everybody's going to hear. I can hear that little bit of a time or whatever right at the next to my bed, right?
Yep.
But yeah, there's no phone, no screen for the first 30 minutes at least, right? So I'm not getting that hit or whatever. I get a hit of dopamine another way, not from the screen.
Yeah.
Right. But what I've done recently too, because I think we all go through this where we do some dopamine detoxes, or we kind of be aware of where we're getting them from, right? And so that's one of my, when we're talking about this, like, awareness is key. Like, where are the distractions coming from?
Yeah.
Right? And then how are they serving you? Okay. So for me, it's easy for me to, and I also like, because this is where I struggle with, if let's say I'm on a farm and I'm working a horse. Okay. I struggle with, instead of being fully present with that horse, if I'm training it, like, I'll put my earbuds in and I'll be listening to a podcast, and I'll be trying to retain all the information, but also work with horse.
Yeah.
Well, then what I found, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. Because either I'm into the podcast or I'm into the horse. Right. But it's like my need to, because I feel like I'm missing out then if so I have to ask myself, one, I have to become aware.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, so why do I have to have these earbuds in?
Yeah.
So awareness, I think, is key for this of why. And then, like, how are these serving?
Yeah.
And what am I trying to get? What pain, or what pain am I trying to avoid, or what pleasure am I trying to gain? Right? Because that's going back to your statement. Like, that's what we're trying to. Everything we do is either to avoid pain or being pleasure, right? So that's what I gotta ask myself. Like, how is this serving? Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, look, it's about awareness. So I could tell you and I are coaches, because we're like, go right to it. But it's so true. And I love that you said that. It's the follow. For you, it's the fear of missing out. For lots of us, that's it, But I would say the way that you regulate, yes, awareness is number one. Like, you can't change anything if you're not aware of it. Morning routine, 100%. What you do that first bit of the day sets you up. But I would say, once you have the awareness of, oh, here I am. I've got the podcast and I'm trying to do the horse. Here I am. I'm trying to talk to my kids and also do 5 things. I'm on this call, but I could tell I'm over here with my tabs and my chat going on and my phone's going up. In that moment, to your point, you're asking yourself questions. So you were talking about the mindset component. I would say, like, okay, what's going on here? I'm going to challenge also to go further and go into the body. Because the body is where the chemical cocktail is happening, right? So to be able to sit, once you have that awareness, to sit in the physical discomfort for a minute of unplugging, or saying, you know what, I'm not going to have that, whatever it is, that extra thing that I want. I'm not going to answer that phone call right now. I'm not going to do the thing, and just sit and actually feel what it feels like in your body to be uncomfortable with that for a minute. And here's why, is because we are always trying to feel better when we're always trying to pacify. So we're like, Band-Aid, put a Band-Aid on it. I don't want to feel that uncomfortable feeling. And it might be because of the FOMO, but it's actually normalizing the feeling in our body that it's okay to be uncomfortable for a minute. This is going back to discipline. Like, it's okay to feel awkward in silence. It's okay to be our list call and also know that there's other things that need to happen and not run to it. Because whether it's FOMO or, I talk a lot about my addiction to performance and always having to performing in the past and always like, if you're not winning, you're dying second place as first loser. So you always want to be getting ahead. But that's still ruled by fear. Fear of missing out, fear of not doing enough, fear of not, be seen as the leader. I mean, fear is a terrible directive.
Yeah.
And so because we talk so much about mindset on this show, and I guys talk a lot about leadership and mindset, but I think it's really empowering and has really empowered me to recognize, like, I can retrain my mind from the body up. You know what I'm saying? If you could sit and train your body to be disciplined, you train your mind. This is when you work out. What happens when you start training and you work out? Does your mindset change?
Of course.
You start working out, your thoughts change. You start training every day, the way you look at life changes.
Yeah.
It's not because you're beating a new thinking into your head. It's because your physiology is changing. Your chemical makeup is changing. And so the body is actually receiving, or the mind is receiving messages. Your brain is receiving messages from the body all the time.
Right.
So I'm a fan of working with the body to try to reprogram the mind also.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it can be a lot faster.
Right. Okay. So, wow. So we started this episode diving into like, okay, people are distracted. How do we deal with that? Whose responsibility is it? And then we've gotten all the way into like, here's what's happening. Like inside the body, there's this whole dopamine thing going on. There's this whole, reward response system that's happening inside the body it really boils down to discipline.
Well, I think, it feels like to you, like maybe we're getting off track, but this is why.
No, I'm not saying it's off track.
Yeah.
What we're saying is it's like what's showing the symptom of what's showing us at work is distraction, this multitask, this like all you're so stressed out. There's so much anxiety. There's so much like I got to keep everybody happy. God forbid I should have to let somebody down. All the things like that you're worried about all the time, the fear that's driving you, right? Like what we've actually gotten to in this episode is what's driving that. And now here's actually what you could do about it.
Well, that's it. It changes the conversation because otherwise, if you're always talking about symptoms, you're always taking Advil. You know what I mean? It's like, I have a headache. I'm distracted. You're not present. Then you're just always talking about that, but the person is still struggling inside.
Yep.
And so like, so we have an addiction here to distraction that we get to talk about, like what's going on, right? And we can set the precedence, or we can normalize like presence is the priority. We're gonna normalize everybody's showing up.
Yep.
And also like, what's really going on that we can't be here?
Right.
I think when we start having the right conversations.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just have the same one on repeat, and then it's just like a lesson in frustration.
It's super good. I was even just to bring this to a close. John, you're talking at one point about like there's a responsibility that as leaders we have to create these to have a meeting be engaging, be worthwhile.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was new. We take that really to heart when we run our live trainings, because we're like brand promises. Like this event is going to be a worthy investment of your time. So what does that look like for you? And then we work really hard to curate the environment. And, often people come out of that, I'm just thinking about Justin recently, who went through this in our SRA stuff here over the winter. He's like, I had no idea how I would feel after eating healthy for 2 days in a row. And that's the thing he talks about now. Because he was denied, not voluntarily, but he was disciplined into, because we only have healthy food options at our events. Okay, we don't have donuts. We don't have soda.
So that would be an example, though, of creating the environment that you actually want. It's like we start with a workout at our training. Why? It's really hard to be texting on your phone in the middle of a workout when you're doing medicine ball slams and, on the assault, it forces the presence of people have a different experience.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm going with that. It's like we actually, I think we need to curate the experience. Because as you guys have been talking, man, how do we shame people into not being distracted?
No, we're not going to shame anyone. No shame.
How do we create it to be shameful to be distracted? But I think that's the general approach. And we all know that that'll work for that call, but it won't work long term. It doesn't actually change someone's behavior. It changes their behavior around you.
Yeah, and it's like you're slapping a toddler on the hands. Like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. I mean, how many times do you want to tell? Like, we talk a lot about micromanaging. Do we really want to be refereeing and babysitting our people like that, or do we want to help them get past that point?
Right. Yeah. We want to coach and partner. So, wow, lots of good stuff in here. Another great one.
So I guess the question is, at the end of the day, are we creating experiences where our people are forced to be present, not because we tell them to, but because it's so worthwhile being there? And that's the standard that you hold on the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a leader's perspective, that's the question you ask yourself, right? What is the experience that I'm giving to my team, right? And is it one worth giving attention to, right? And then, if you're on the other end, or someone's on the other end, and that you find yourself distracted in a Zoom call, calling the person that's hosting the Zoom call, if you're on that end, maybe it's time to ask yourself, am I present? And if I'm not present, why?
Yeah. Also, what does respect look like?
But that's a standard that we hold, right? Yeah. We tolerate environments of disrespect. We create that where it's okay to show up and not be there. It's okay to be there and forget everything. It's okay to show up just with problems and not solutions. It's okay, and what we're doing, that's what we're communicating, that is the standard. Disrespect, lack of presence, exhausted, burnt out, that's the standard. Now we have a responsibility to create the environment where we have a new standard, and we have to support our people in getting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we could keep going on this. I want to try to put a bow on it, and just bring it back to this. And you can even curate these little experiences within those Zoom calls or within your team's calls by setting that standard up front. I think you mentioned, maybe not on this show, Christine, but you mentioned in the past, the call will begin when everybody's camera is on.
Say that every fall.
The call begins, everybody's here, present, and on camera, right? And that's sort of that's setting the standard. Okay, now make it worth their time, right? Now make sure that the discussion is vibrant. Make sure that we're leading people appropriately. Make sure that, this wasn't a meeting that could have been an email kind of situation,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
So lots of things to do there as we talk about practical things that people can do, as well as a deeper understanding of what's going on, so that maybe it helps people not be as frustrated.
Yeah, but this is a great and I think worthwhile conversation in the Intentional Ag Leader podcast, because it really is about what does intention look like for you? First question that we ask on all of our interviews: what does it look like for you to be intentional? I hope you add this to your portfolio of ways